And so now I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Lucky enough for us, one of our colleagues that used to work with us at AMI, Nina Monfils, is now working for an organization called Next Nature. And so very luckily, I'd like to introduce to you Koert. Koert himself is a philosopher, really, I would say. Would you say that's fair? And an artist. A philosopher and an artist. And he imagines how can we move into the next future that we need to do whilst respecting and enhancing the work of the planet. So we are hoping that we're going to transport you from the Samburu, who, as you know, indigenous peoples actually take care of about 85% of the world's diversity. That's what they do. And so some of the world is in their hands, and the rest of the world is in ours, if you like. So I hope Koert is going to give you yet another way of thinking about how we actually create a better life, a better planet, a better future for us all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, I think in the next half hour I like to take you on a journey in search for a love story between nature and technology. And I want to begin with zooming out a bit. This is an image of our planet at night. And I find it utterly fascinating, also maybe slightly disturbing, but weird. Like 1,000 years ago, the dark side of our planet was pitch black. But now you see all these lights emerging on planet Earth. So what's happening? Is it on fire, or is it springtime on the planet? If you zoom in, you can learn a lot. Like in the US, you more or less see where the blue and the red states are. You see the rise of India quite rapidly over the last few decades. You see Europe as this starry blanket with one, unfortunately, increasingly lonely star in the east. There's also still empty areas. Greenland, I think someone tried to buy this a few years ago. The Amazon rainforest, well, these are not forest fires, they are actual, cities, settlements. And also the Sahara, there's space there. Where here it's quite striking that you also see this natural phenomenon, the Nile River. You can see this now from outer space because of all the cultural activity around it. Also from space you can see economical and political decisions. This is the North Korean border. So that's quite a different situation in Pyongyang than in Seoul. I hope people find each other there in due time. One question one might also ask at a certain point, like, okay, what is the biggest blob of light that's to be found on the planet? So you might think maybe Mexico City or New York, Tokyo. Well, it turns out it's closer than you think. It's this entire area from Amsterdam to beyond Brussels to beyond Cologne. Is at least the biggest blob that I could find, and we are now in it. So we are kind of, and I'm from this country, of course. So I welcome you also in this biggest blob of light. We live in a country that is embedded in a city, you know, in an urban area, and we're trying to make sense of what is going on. I want to share some perspectives. This is something that, well, we have in the Netherlands, but also in other countries. A while ago I was walking in the dunes and with a friend I saw there this strange tree sticking out amidst the other trees. I went closer to take a look, and it turned out that this is not a tree, it is a cell phone antenna mast disguised as a tree. Now why are we doing this? You know, on the one hand, I think there are two reasons. On the one hand, it's we try to construct our natural environment according to our idealized image of what nature should be. And at the same time, we also have all these technology that we don't perceive as technology anymore. So we want to walk in a wild landscape, but with cell phone coverage. That's sort of the desire. Another example, this is near Berlin. It's a big building, and indoor people are also, enjoying nature. This is the biggest indoor beach in Western Europe. And you look at it, and I always have to laugh about these paths that people are walking in that building. Like, yes, we're in nature. Well, no, you're in a building. Near Dubai, I think also world famous, these islands that are put in the ocean. Dutch companies construct this because already in the 18th century, the French philosopher Voltaire used to say, God created the world except for the Netherlands, that they have done themselves. And also in Netherlands there are now some plans like, should we do something similar? A tulip, maybe a windmill, I don't know, it has been done. Think of, well, I know. Well, maybe this would be nice country marketing. We also have something in the Netherlands that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. We have regenerated prehistoric nature. Yeah, so that's we buy land from farmers, and then we try to restore the original nature that we think existed there 10,000 years ago. Well, and apparently, while this wild oaks, it became extinct in the European oaks in the 17th century, but now we found some Scottish Highlander that kind of like the Brad Pitt of nature experience is playing that out as an actor in the prehistoric nature. We also construct islands that will then be turned into natural resorts. So now it's the construction, but in 30 years' time, people will be walking in nature. You can find that in this country. These are all examples of nature being turned into culture, obviously, and that's nothing new. That's quite known. Nature is also a very successful product, perhaps the most successful product of our time. And I like to give you as homework for the next week to, in your own environment, to count the amount of products that you encounter where images of nature are being used to sell you something. I'm sure you will find many, many examples. I already did my homework, some examples. Apple is not a fruit company. Lacoste is not made from crocodile. Also, the Puma shoes are not made from Puma. They just refer to the sporty image of the animal. And sometimes it's just also a bit cynical, like this green Hummer that is just a little bit less polluting than the previous model, and then we paint it green and we say yes. Well, maybe not. Sometimes it's also just utterly confusing. This is an ecological insecticide. So you can kill off nature, but in a nature-friendly way. We know that sex sells, nature sells better. And while all these products in our environment are put out there to sell themselves with positive images of nature, we also get this feeling like nature, that is the positive, wonderful, harmonic, balanced force of life, whereas nature also has some, well, less desirable aspects, unpredictability, well, death, infection, viruses are also part of nature, but we tend to not see that. And so why is it that there are so many people who want to restore our relationship with nature or even save nature, and we hardly ever ask the question, what is nature? Who decides that, and how might that be changing in our time? I want to get into this a bit, and then I have to start at the beginning. I take you now back to the beginning of our planet, some 4.5 billion years ago. So this is a baby picture of our planet Earth. It looks kind of cute, right? It had, at that time, it had a geosphere when our planet started. It took some 3 billion years before a biosphere evolved upon our planet. 3 billion years. And only 1 billion years later, people arrived. So we have just arrived. However, clearly our presence does not go unnoticed. Because with our ingenuity and activity and technology and creativity, we now cause the rising of a new sphere on planet Earth, the technosphere. And recently scientists calculated that if you put all technology on a scale, and so that means, yes, your smartphone your computer, but also a car, the chair, even the building, all the things that people invented. If you put it on a scale, it's already heavier than if you put all the biology, all the plants, animals, humans on a scale. So the technosphere is heavier than the biosphere. And the biosphere evolved upon the geosphere and has all kinds of interactions with it. But now this technosphere is emerging on that biosphere and has all kinds of interactions with it. And this happens in our lifetime. It's happening now. Evolution goes on, one could say, and yeah, often, well, people know Darwin and evolution, but then when we talk of nature, often we still feel like we're the biblical Adam and Eve expelled from the paradise, sort of like the humans as the unnatural species that spoils everything. It's not entirely correct, because obviously all of us, we've also been born in a world that has been designed already. If you look around you now in this room and you try to find the most natural thing in the room, then, well, Dutch flower, no. No, it's you. You know, we design everything as a humanity. That's kind of what we do. Up to the level that young children now know more brands and logos than bird or tree species. And not only in this part of the world, you know. And there's a lot we can do. We can already like engineer butterflies with Nike logos. Just do it. I don't know. Maybe have a conversation first. But at the same time, while we are pushing all this technology out there, we also lose control. We cannot even solve the issue of traffic jams. That's already too difficult for us. So what do we leave for the future? And yeah, what will our own future be? That's also a question. I think we now live in a time where the born and the made, they are blending, they are fusing. And as a result, we're also a bit confused about nature and culture, because nature we think of as everything that was born or emerged. Think of plants, animals, the climate, the universe. Yeah, and culture, that's what we make. But now it's becoming more complex. I think this is actually shifting, and I want to get into this with an example that yeah, we can all understand. If I put on one graph born versus made on one axis, and then I create a graph by making another axis where you put controlled versus autonomous or uncontrolled, then I've now created 4 quadrants, and I can put all kinds of things in there to understand the world around us. So I begin in this born controlled quadrant. There you find things like a bonsai tree, a rainbow, tulip, a genetically modified banana or chicken. These are things that people are creating, and we're designing this up to a level that you say, wait a minute, it's not nature anymore. This is now technology. Luckily, there's also still a lot of born nature left that we do not control. Think of viruses, volcanoes, the lightning, or the sun. The sun is so much bigger than us. We are 100% dependent on it. We have zero control. So no, we're not gods. We're not the masters of the universe. We can be a bit modest still, even though there is a lot that we can make. So in that made controlled quadrant, you find things like a car, a telephone, a robot-dog, a light bulb, not too exciting. However, if you move into that upper quadrant there, I think things are becoming really, really strange. What we find here, things that we made, that we do not control anymore. Think of, well, traffic jams, I already mentioned. Cities, perhaps. Computer viruses, artificial intelligence, the financial system. We made the financial system. However, are we still controlling this? What is happening? And yeah, I think this is the mind shift, because we traditionally think of nature as everything that was born or emerged. However, now in the 21st century, we better look at nature as everything that grows autonomously, sometimes beyond our control. And here you need to think differently about the relationship between nature and technology. You get this, well, we tend to think of nature and technology as you have nature and technology as black and white or day and night. Technology is the opposite of nature. However, here we learn that all our technologies also become a next nature that might be wild and unpredictable as ever, and that we need to cultivate as well. But first we need awareness. We need to see it. And well, I work on this as founder of Next Nature Network, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And I often think like, what's happening? So I have some examples from my own life. Well, this is, I think I think you know this feeling. I think everyone in the room is still old enough to have lived without a smartphone. Is there anyone in the room who does not own a smartphone? No, yeah, that's kind of, yeah. So this all happened within our lifetime. And because now, if you leave your house without your smartphone, you know that feeling? It feels as if you are missing a limb. Or you feel naked. You quickly run back to your home to grab your smartphone and feel like a whole human being again. And it's not glued inside your body, but it's connected to your lifestyle, to your identity, and this all happened within a few decades. Another example from our life, from my life, where I think, what's happening? These are all the razors that I used throughout my life. So I started when I was 15 with this simple stick. It had 2 blades. And yes, this morning I shaved myself with this 6-bladed, battery-powered, LED-enabled monster that looks a bit like a vacuum cleaner. And you see all these models and you think, do we really need this? Is this evolution? Often people say, no, this is not evolution because we make this. Okay, but could this then be a symbol of co-evolution? Co-evolution between people and technology. Just like the bees and the flowers also co-evolve. The bees take nectar from the flowers, however they also spread their pollen so that the flowers can propagate, and we help technology to propagate. I read in the newspaper that biodiversity is going down, and then you enter a supermarket and you see an increase in, well, I think technodiversity is the better term. There are now more patents on the planet known than species. This is happening in our lifetime. And of course, all these goodies, they are shipped, with this global shipment route, almost as if it is a metabolism in the technosphere on our planet. All, geared by the financial system, of course, that I already mentioned. We made it, but are we still controlling this? Are we the dominant species, or is something else happening? How do we cope with this? How do we guide the growth of these kind of systems? There are, I think, very inspiring examples from the past. These are the root bridges from India. And here people grow a bridge by connecting roots on the opposite sides of the river. You grow a bridge. And, well, there might be people in the room who think, yes, this is the way we do it. But from this country, it's like a very different model than what we are used to of like, I have an idea, then I make a blueprint, then it's construction, and then it's maintenance, because otherwise the bridge will fall apart. So can we guide the growth or use guided growth as a way of, well, relating to our environment, growing things? And how do we guide the growth of this phenomenon? This is not a star nebula somewhere far, far away. No closer than you think. This is a map of the internet. So every device connected to the internet plotted as a dot, and then all the connections between these devices plotted as lines. And then you get this kind of structure that, you know, it also looks natural in a way. And the internet exists also less than a lifetime. Shall we turn it off for a week? Do you still have a job? How do you communicate with your loved ones? So we're utterly dependent on it. This also shows us that almost like the fish who don't know it's wet, we are dwelling in a technological environment that changes and shifts time after time. And I think we need to see this and then steer it. And that's the only way to cope with this emerging technosphere. This was not a big plan to build a technosphere. It kind of happened to us. And we cannot go back. So there's a deep longing with many people to go back to nature and go back to the world where there's only a biosphere. But this is not going away soon. I think we need to find a love story between the biosphere and the technosphere, connect biology and technology, because in the end this is not happening on 3 spheres, it's all happening on 1 sphere, and this happens to be our planet, which kind of looks like a spaceship here also. And I'm pretty sure that there are no passengers on spaceship Earth. We are all crew. And my call to you is to train the crew for spaceship Earth. And let people do that in a self-directed way. We need to train this crew for spaceship Earth, not back, but forward to nature. Well, thank you. I have one more thing, Ling.
Please.
May I?
Yes.
Obviously, there is a book, and I see some people already scanning the QR code. My gift to you is that you can connect also to our Next Nature Network, and then, well, we send you the book. You only pay shipping costs, so that's the gift. And there's one more thing, because a while ago I also wrote a letter to humanity. And since there are a few humans in the audience, I want to hand out a few of my letters to humanity, which is, by the way, translated in 26 languages. So you can look it up in your language as well.
Thank you very much. Good.
There are more letters at the door. So
Thank
if you
you
leave, there's one for all of you.
Thank you so much for such an interesting, thought-provoking, wonderful, framed set of ideas for all of us. And I know from the work I've looked at and what you're doing at Next Nature that it's how do you use technology for good, for the good of the planet? How do we embrace it and turn it into the thing that it needs to be? And you really gave us a wonderful opening for that, and we're glad for that because our last speaker is pushing us into the future and helping us think forward. So thank you, and thank you. Would you take this small gift from us? Thank you so much. It's really nice of you. Thank you so much. Thank you.